Here are some of the dental picks that I talked about in section 1 of this video. Here's a scraper. I thought it would be best if I showed you a little bit of a close-up of some of these pieces because they're hard to see when I'm just holding them, pointing them out to you. Here are the hooks for pulling and picking out things. Here are the rifflers. Here you can see the little flat side with the serrations on these. The different shaped rifflers. Some rounded and square. Some rounded and triangular. Some flat, some round. Some very small. And then these are the spoons and lifters. Here you can see how fine this riffler is here, with a curve up, tapered. And this is the one that I pointed out that had the square saw edge with a round, and just the opposite, serrated all around, but curved. These are the needle files, and you see these are triangular spear points, rounded spear point, flat, round on one side, flat on the other, round, coarser, so more like a rasp, spear, flat. And then the triangular ones actually vary in size as you go along, and some of them have flat edges, corners, and others are knife-like. To give you a little more detail on these files, you can see this one here is flat on one side, and it's a single mill cut, rounded on this side. But look how small this is. Wonderful for working with miniature work. Here are our rasps. You can see how coarse these are, and these are flat on one side, round on the other. Here's a little smaller one. These are handled, shaped, all rasps, but one is a rat tail, one is a round on one side, and it's flat across this way, but round this way, which is perfect for taking off and not digging into a contour on something round. The rat tail. This one here is sort of paddle shaped, has a slight contour on this side, and the same thing on this side. It's not flat across. This one here, tapered down to a spear point, curved, rounded this way, and rounded this way. Here's a similar one, but it's flat on this side, no corrugations on this side, and then corrugated here again, creating this triangular curve. This one, again like a beaver tail, rounded and rounded, but smaller than this other one. Here this rasp is spear pointed to the tip, whereas this one here is flat on the end. This is flat on the bottom, rounded on the top, with not very much of an arch to its shape here, whereas this one has a higher arch, so it will go into a deeper curve and flat on this side. If you notice this little carving here, you can see there's so much little detail inside. The only way that I could get in there to do that is with a knife, but then to refine the cut, I use one of the smaller files. The same thing with spoons here. There's certain areas that lend themselves to the use of having the files used on them. In other cases, you have to use a knife. These are combination files, and they've got a coarse rasp, and on one side they have the smoother, the flat rasp and the smooth, the round rasp and the smooth. These are all half-round files that I'm going to point out to you. But the thing I want you to pay attention to is the shape of these ends, because you'll see that these contours vary in size, getting larger in some cases and smaller in others. Over here, you see how fine a grade this is, whereas this is sort of a middle bastard grit. But as you go through, you'll see that they all have different contours, and that's important when you're buying a file, not to just assume that they're all the same, because you see how low and flat this one is compared to how high this arch is, and that'll affect where you can use it and what you can use it on. Here you see this one comes down to a point here. It's tapered, but if you look at the end of it, you'll see that it's ovoid. It's serrated on the edge, but it's an oval shape, getting larger as it goes this way and this way. So here's a set of 4 files that are all the same. I don't know why someone originally bought 4, but I got them in a box lot. But what they're for, they're hook scraper files, and therefore filing scraper blades that you want a fine edge on. And in here it has even the instructions on how to do that. But that's the sole purpose of this file, and you can see that it's amazingly fine. Very rigid, not serrated on the sides, only on the top and the bottom with 2 grits, one ultra fine, one medium fine.